Family law in Indiana is a broad topic that covers many subtopics that you may have heard from. Family law can include matters such as divorce, custody, parenting time issues, child support, paternities. All of those things come under the general broad category of family law. It's important to understand those different topics and how they impact you if you find yourself needing services in this area. Back in 1972, Indiana adopted a no-fault divorce state policy, which simply means that you do not have to have a reason for a divorce other than simply that the relationship is broken down. Once you establish that, the court then will really look at two things. What do we do about children, and what do we do with assets and debts? In Indiana, on assets and debts, it's usually fairly straightforward as an equal division of property and debts. The court can make exceptions for inherited property, pre-existing assets that you may have owned, and some other reasons that come up from time to time. So it's important to discuss the entire picture on assets and debts, but you will normally find that that gets settled or resolved in a manner that's fairly predictable. The issue of children is something much more important to most people because it, of course, involves not only the children presently, but how they develop and turn out as young adults. So with that, the courts look more seriously at what issues are needing to be answered and how they should do so for the best interest of the children. You have probably heard about the terms sole custody or joint custody. Today, most courts prefer that the parents accept joint legal custody, which means they have equal responsibility for making major life decisions for the children. Those decisions would include religious upbringing, public or private school, healthcare decisions, and even major rites of passage for children such as driver's license, school activities, when they're allowed to date, and curfew. Those types of major decisions in the eyes of most courts ought to be shared by parents, and even though the parents are getting divorced, they still have that common bond to their children. So as we go forward talking about joint custody, generally you could expect that to be the preference of the judge. Closely related to joint custody, however, is the parenting time issue. In most situations, parents in joint custody will find their own arrangements on when the children are with each parent. The court does have parenting time guidelines which serve as a template or a model that the court will rely upon if the parents cannot agree on their parenting time. You can find a copy of those parenting time guidelines at our website or at the Indiana Supreme Court website. Assuming you can work out the arrangement on your own, we find, and most judges will agree, that often it is the parent's plan which serves the children best and is more likely to last into the future. Also, you'll find going through a divorce process that if you cannot agree, the court will often refer you to mediation, where you get together with a neutral party, usually an attorney, who will help guide you in trying to find a solution that works for everyone. So as you go through divorce in Indiana, although it can be a long process and sometimes an emotionally painful process, what you will find is there are many guidelines and ways in which we can narrow the issues and hopefully find decisions and arrangements and agreements with your spouse to make the process less painful. Aside from divorce, there are other types of family law that you may encounter. Some of those would include paternity cases if parties were not married. It might include custody for a child who isn't yours but you've been raising. It could be a niece or a nephew. It might be a grandchild. All those different things come up under family law. You may have a grandparent visitation rights issue, either where you're the grandparent or you're the parent who has to decide how much involvement grandparents will have. All of those areas of family law are things that come up when you perhaps are under a great amount of stress, and it's important to have good legal guidance on how to resolve these matters. So if you find yourself in that situation where you need guidance on a family law matter, we stand ready to help, hopefully giving you a broad exposure and base upon which to make lifelong decisions. If you find yourself in need of a family law attorney, we stand ready to help guide you through the process to make it the best result for you and your family.